Okay, today we're going to be talking about fonts, and I put some resources in your review lesson section that should be below the video here. What we're going to be talking about, we've already sort of played around with fonts a little bit, but the key thing is when you're dealing with fonts, you're typically talking about different styles of the text, different ways of showing the text. And we have fonts, and then those fonts are separated into what are called font families. And the font families are known as serif, sans serif, and monospace. And the real difference here is that serif means that it has these little sort of edges or tails on the word or on the letter. So F, you can see here, it has this little dinky thing, and this little dinky thing, and this little dinky thing. And then sans serif, sans means without. So without those serifs, or we think of those as tails. Let's think of those as tails. So this letter doesn't have the tails. This letter does have the tails. And they highlight the tail or the serif in red here. Now, why do we do that? It's because, for the most part, when you specify a font, saying like the font equals this, the browser looks for what fonts it has available, and it will show the font that you specify if it has it available. But if it doesn't have it available, then it's going to go to whatever your backup font is. And if you don't have a backup font, then it's going to go to whatever, just going to select a font from that family. So in this situation, this person has specified Times New Roman as their font, and then their backup font is Times, and then their backup font, which is the font family, is serif. So you want to get in the habit. This is just a good practice in case the person who's visiting your website, doesn't have an extensive selection of fonts. We're going to talk a little bit later about how we can play around with letting the user download the fonts that you want. So that really is going to open the door to be able to, for you to be able to use whatever fonts you want. But right now, this is the standard that you want to use. So the other things that we're going to be learning here today are font style, and that's the way that you're going to specify that something is going to be italic. Font weight, and that's the way that you're going to be able to specify that something is going to be bold. And then font size, which we've done up to this point, but we're going to be talking about a few different things. Specifically, up till this point, we've been specifying font size using pixels, right? We say font size equals 16 pixels, or font size. So there's a different way of doing really big. The problem is that the size of the some browsers have using something called an EM or an M, and basically what that does is it says that the standard font size is 16 pixels. You can see here. And if you want to make it bigger than that, then you multiply it by an M. So 1 M is equal to 16 pixels in the same way that 1 times 16 equals 16. But if I want to make it bigger, then I would multiply it and say 2.5 M. And 2.5 times 16 is 40 pixels. So that's how I would write that I want it to be that big. Now, this is one of those places where you can absolutely keep using pixels. I use pixels, I don't use M's, but there are going to be people who use my site who run into problems, and I can deal with those problems by using the safer approach, which is the recommendation is to specify a font size of 100% in the body tag, and I'll show you how we do that, and then use M's to change the size. So I'm going to show you pixels, and then I'm going to show you M's, and you can choose between which one you want to do. All right, so let's go to our assignment here. We want to change the font of our paragraph text. So let's go into Edit. I have the Gettysburg Address, which we've become familiar with here, and I just want to change the font in a paragraph text. So I'm going to go P, curly Q, and I'm going to make my font family equal to impact, and we'll do that as a serif or a sans serif. Okay, so that makes the whole thing impact. Now I don't really want to do that though. I want to make this I want to have two different paragraphs like we did in the previous lesson. So I want to do P para 1, P class para 1, and then P class para 2. And I want to have the font family in my para 1 be Times New Roman, and you notice I put a quote in there, and that's because it's more than one word. Times New Roman, and then I want that to be, that is a serif font. Okay, and then I'm going to do font family equals, we'll do Courier, which is a monospace font. Okay, for the second paragraph. Oops, why did that? Oh, I didn't put the classes on. Gotta put the classes on, Mr. O'Leary. Class equals para 1. It's cool though, isn't it, that you get feedback so quickly, you know, and then you have to go in and solve the problem. And I'll tell you, getting to be being a good detail-oriented coder is going to save you a lot of time. I spend hours upon hours searching for missing curly cues or missing semicolons, and it's no fun. So here we go. The first paragraph is under the Times New Roman font. Second paragraph is under the Courier font, and then the third paragraph, because I didn't put a style tag associated with it or a class tag associated with it, it inherits the paragraph font. All right, so we did that. That's number 1. I want to change the style of the font to make it italic. So what I'm going to do here is go into my header tag, and I want to make that italic. So we're going to say font style equals italic. Okay. So you can see that the Gettysburg Address has changed, and now it's more of an italic. And you can go in, and if I want to, it defaults to normal, but if I wanted to, I could make it normal now as well. Okay, but I'm going to leave it there as italic. Next is I want to change the weight of my font. So let's take Courier and let's make that a font weight of bold. Now remember, we used to just do bold. We just put a B in front and an NB in the end, but we'd have to do that over and over again. And so now what we can do is we can specify that throughout the different web page. So the style tags, even though they take a little bit more time up front, they can be they're going to save you time over the long run. All right, so font weight equals bold. So it's harder to see, but this is a bold version of the Courier font. So let's put that over here. It'll be a little easier if I move that into Times New Roman, and you can see that that's bold. Okay. Now you can also make it. You can use just numbers to make it bolder. So I saw this in my lesson. So let's see what that would be. Font weight equals 900. Let's see how bold that looks. So a little bit bolder. Okay. All right. So then our next thing in our assignment is we want to change the size of the H1 tag using pixels. All right. So we know how to do that. We do font size, and we do 40 pixels, and that's going to be much bigger than it is right now. Okay. Actually, I don't know if that was that much bigger. Let's make it 60 pixels so it really looks bigger. There we go. And then I want to change the size of my paragraph text using pixels. So we want to go into, let's just do it in our default. We want to do font size equals, let's say 20 pixels. That'll be bigger than what it is right now. Okay? So I put that into my paragraph tag. You can see everything's bigger. Great. Now, then the last thing is I want you to make sure that you have, if you want to go with the sort of the best practice, then what you do is you say body font size equals 100%, and then what you can do is say that we want, let's get rid of that header tag. And what we want to do is say that the paragraph size is going to be, actually let's do this down here. We'll do the paragraph 1 is going to be a font size of 1M. Okay. Now 1M, if we remember, the default size is 16 pixels. So 1M would be 1 times 16, which is 16 pixels. And then we're going to do over here, we'll do font size, and we'll do a little different. We're going to do 0.5 em. So what size is going to be? What's 0.5 times 16? 0.5 times 16 is the same as taking 16 and dividing it by 2. So what's half of 16? 8 times 2, 16. So let's do that. So you can see here, this is the default size. Then this is 1/2 size. And then let's go over here for para 3, which we don't even have yet. And we'll say para 3, and we'll say that would be 1.5 em. So what's 1.5 times 16? 16 times 1 plus 16 times 1/2, which is 8. So what's 16 plus 8? 24. So this will be 24. This will be the same as saying 24 pixels. Oh, I didn't. Again, guys, gotta keep me honest. Remember, I gotta put my tag in here, or it doesn't work. My class tag. Okay, so this is that, and that's what you want to do in order to complete this lesson.